They came with promises of jobs, prosperity, and development, but what they left behind was devastation. This is the story of how Coca-Cola, one of the world's most iconic brands, destroyed an entire village in India. Plachimada, a small village in the southern state of Kerala, was once fertile, green, and full of life. But in just a few years, Coca-Cola drained its water, poisoned its land, and shattered its future. This is the untold story of corporate greed, exploitation, and resistance. The year was 1991. India, a land of over 1 billion people, was facing an economic crisis. Years of socialist policies had led to inefficiencies, and the government found itself teetering on the edge of bankruptcy. Something had to change. For this reason, India decided to open its economy to foreign companies and investors. Multinational corporations were invited to set up businesses and plants, bringing in capital, technology, and expertise. For the first time in decades, India was no longer the closed-off, self-reliant economy it once aspired to be. And among the first to arrive was Coca-Cola. Actually, this is not the first time for Coke in India. In 1950, Coca-Cola opened bottling plants in New Delhi, and in 1973, they operated 22 bottling plants in 13 states in India. Between 1978 and 1979, Coca-Cola formally withdrew their investments from India due to Coke refused to accept the terms of Foreign Exchange Regulation Act. Coca-Cola re-entered in India in 1993. Since the opening up of the Indian economy in 1991, the soft drink giant saw an untapped market in India, a population that was thirsty not just for its beverages, but for everything the West symbolized: modernity, progress, and success. In 1999, Coca-Cola set its sights on Plachimada, far from the metros of Mumbai and New Delhi. Located in the Palakkad district of Kerala, this village was primarily agrarian. The people here relied on the land and, more importantly, water, life's most precious resource. The company wanted to build a massive bottling plant here because of lower operation costs and easy access to K-markets. The local government welcomed Coca-Cola with open arms. After all, they promised jobs, investment, and development. The plant, spread over 34 acres, mostly agricultural land, which is equivalent to about 25 NFL fields. It was intended to pump out 6,000 liters of soft drinks every day, with an average 4 liters of water per soft drink, which means for every 1 liters of Coke, it needs approx 4 liters of water. Only 25% of this water becomes the final product, while 75% was wasted. The plant began operations in 2000, and almost immediately, the problems began. That the overexploitation of groundwater by the company had caused the deterioration of groundwater, both in quality and quantity. It was reported that the salinity and hardness of the water had risen. Apart from the increase in salinity and hardness, the water from some open wells and shallow bore wells nearby was alleged to have an extremely unpleasant, strong, bitter taste. The people who used this brackish, bitter water complained of a variety of illnesses, such as skin and stomach problems. It was also reported that a few wells in the nearby area had become dry due to the over-extraction of groundwater by the company. The insufficiency of water had also resulted in the decline of agricultural production, and these are very serious issues in a place like Plachimada, where people depend extensively upon groundwater for domestic and agricultural purposes. To make matters worse, Coca-Cola was disposing of its industrial waste in the surrounding fields and water. They called it fertilizer and gave it to the villagers for free. But this so-called fertilizer was nothing more than toxic sludge. It contained harmful toxins like cadmium, lead, and chromium, which are hazardous to both human health and the environment, impacting the well-being of the villagers who unknowingly used the waste on their crops. In August 2003, Down to Earth published a report of finding extremely dangerous kinds of pesticides in leading cold drinks brands like Coca-Cola, Pepsi. The maximum standard limit for total pesticides is 0.5 parts per billion in soft drinks. But in lab report, it detects 14 ppb in a Coke sample, which is 28 times higher than the maximum limit. And this created concerns about the harmful effects associated with the consumption of carbonated soft drinks, especially by children, teenagers, and populations like pregnant women. But the people of Plachimada were not willing to go down without a fight. In 2002, the villagers, led by a group of tribal women, began a protest right outside the Coca-Cola plant. Day after day, they sat under the scorching sun, demanding that the company shut down its operations and leave their land. Their movement gained momentum, attracting national and international attention on January 23, 2004, when they organized a 3-day World Water Conference in Plachimada. Activists and global environmental groups drafted Plachimada Declaration against marketization, privatization, and corporatization of water and calling for justice. The villagers also took their fight to the courts. In 2003, the State Pollution Control Board ordered Coca-Cola to stop drawing groundwater from the area. The company challenged the ruling, but the court sided with the people of Plachimada. In March 2004, after years of protests and legal battles, the Coca-Cola plant was forced to shut down its operations. Still, Coca-Cola Company didn't recognize their crime against the people of Plachimada. Even though the plant was closed, the consequences of Coca-Cola's actions lingered. The groundwater levels never fully recovered, the soil remained contaminated, and the people of Plachimada were left to rebuild their shattered lives. Yes, it's true that the Coca-Cola Company created jobs in Plachimada and contributed to the GDP. But at what cost? The local community paid a heavy price for these economic gains. The over-extraction of groundwater severely depleted the water table. The pollution caused by the waste sludge and other toxic byproducts from the plant contaminated nearby water sources and soil, further damaging the environment and public health. The long-term social, environmental, and economic costs borne by the local population far outweighed the short-term benefits of job creation and revenue. Coca-Cola is a symbol of global capitalism, but behind its sleek ads and catchy jingles lies a darker truth, a truth that the people of Plachimada know all too well. Coca-Cola first set up its plant in Delhi in 1950. However, after India introduced the Foreign Exchange Regulation Act in 1973, Coca-Cola left the country in 1977. Following India's economic liberalization in 1991, Coca-Cola returned to the Indian market in 1993. Soon after, in 2002, local protests against Coca-Cola's water usage led to the rise of an anti-cola movement. This culminated in the World Water Conference held in Plachimada in 2004, and shortly after, in March 2004, Coca-Cola shut down its Plachimada plant.